Hey, Allison Verhalen here with AV Writing Services, and today I am talking about blogging. Is blogging dead? Does anyone read blog posts anymore? I hear this all the time from people. I hear people saying they don't read blog posts. I hear people saying no one reads blog posts anymore. No one has time for that. It's a waste of time. There's no point in blogging for your business. Now, of course, I blog for my business and I blog for my clients, and of course I find it valuable. So where is this coming from? Where are people getting the idea that no one reads blog posts anymore? So first, let's start with what a blog is, because I'm afraid that it starts with a lot of people not fully understanding what a blog is. A lot of blogs started out as fluff, people talking about whatever they wanted. You had the Live Journal for a while. It was basically a personal diary that you put online for whatever reason. Who wants to read that? No one wants to read that, but it made us teenagers feel good. If you were growing up in the early 2000s, you may have had a Live Journal. And people blog about food and fashion, and that's great. But for most of us, it's fluff. For most of us, we don't need to know that for our daily life or for our business. It is our free time when we read that kind of stuff. But of course, there are all kinds of blogs that give you all kinds of information. Ours is a blog on content marketing and SEO and strategy, and there are social media blogs. There are blogs that combine the two. They talk about blogging and social media and all of that. There are finance blogs. There are banking blogs. There are dentist blogs and health and wellness blogs, not just food. A lot of those combine food and health and wellness. And that's super important. Of course, you need to know what you can do in your day-to-day life with the stuff that you eat every day so that you can be healthy and have energy and do everything you need to get done. That is super valuable information. And if you don't make the time to do that, well, then you're sacrificing a lot, aren't you? So if you've ever read our blog, of course you know that it's not just fluff. If you have not read our blog, you can check it out at avwritingservices.com/blog, and it's full of valuable information that you can actually use. So that's the first problem I think a lot of people run into, is they're not quite clear on what a blog is. So that's what a blog is. So second of all is, have you read a blog? Have you read a blog without even realizing it? If you have used Google at all, it has probably directed you to a few blog posts at least. And I'm sure that you click on something and you read it and you get the information that you need and you're out. Guess what? You read a blog post. And I think a lot of people don't quite understand the value that blogs provide as far as showing up in online searches. So that brings us to our third point, how to use a blog to show up in online searches. Now, we're going to focus on Google. When people talk about SEO, it's search engine optimization. Search engine is not necessarily Google. It can be Bing. It can even be social media. A number of websites have their own search engines on their site. But let's face it, when we talk about SEO, most of the time we're talking about Google. Google processes approximately 40,000 searches per second. Per second. 40,000 searches. That's how many people are searching. That's how many things are getting searched on Google every single second. And Google needs to point them to the content that can get them what they need, that can answer their questions for them. And if you don't have a blog, you're not going to show up. Google wants new, fresh content. It wants those keywords, and a blog is a great way to consistently publish content that's new and fresh and relevant on your website on a regular basis. And it's a great way to get those keywords in there so that when someone is looking for, let's say you're an attorney and someone needs tips on handling a divorce or a specific type of a divorce or maybe a custody battle, and you have a blog post that answers that, great. You can get in front of them because Google will know that you're a valuable website, you got that good information that is answering the questions that the users need. So Google is gonna pair you up. Think of Google as a matchmaker. It's trying to pair up the content with the question so that it can put content that people need in front of them. And if you're not creating fresh, relevant content, Google is going to start to wonder if this website is even live anymore. Did someone just put it up and forget about it? And same with people who find your website. If they don't see new content, they're going to start to wonder, is anyone here anymore? So that brings us to our fourth point, is how to use content to convert leads into customers. Again, I don't know where people are getting this idea that no one reads blog posts anymore, because the vast majority of users, I want to say something like 3/4 of internet users, say that they do in fact read blog posts. And especially if you're in the B2B industry, on average, B2B buyers read 5 to 7 pieces of content before making a purchasing decision. And when they say pieces of content, most of the time they're talking about blog posts. They're going to go to your website, and if you have a product, they want to learn more about that product. If you're providing a service, they want to make sure that you really know how to provide that service. Do you really know SEO? Do you really know how to negotiate a divorce, how to be a mediator? Do you really know the difference between an IRA and a 401k and what the pros and cons of each one are? They want to get that information from you, and a blog is going to be the top way that they do that before they reach out. Before they send an email or give you a call, they're going to go through the content on your website to get that buy-in. That is one of the most valuable parts of a blog. I still can't decide personally if the most valuable part of a blog is showing up in searches or if it's converting leads into customers, because you need both, right? You need to show up in searches, and then once they're there, you need to convert them into buyers. And a blog is a great way to do both of those things if you do it correctly. Now, back to this idea that no one has time to read blog posts anymore. Okay, we're going to have to give it to them. They're not wrong. No one really does have time to read blog posts anymore. If someone is late in the buying stage and they're looking for that buy-in and they're looking for information, they're probably going to take the time to read the blog posts and before they reach out to someone. But most internet users admit to skimming blog posts. They click, they look through the content, they don't really read all of it, especially if it's a long piece. They might skip to the parts that are really relevant to them. You know, let's say on this video, we have this blog post that covers how to use the blog post to show up in SEO and how to use a blog post to convert leads into customers. Maybe someone finds that blog post and they already know how to use a blog to show up in searches, but they don't know how to use a blog to convert leads into customers. They might jump to that section and go, oh, I didn't know I could do that with my blog. Or maybe there are some tips that I'm missing that I can get from this section. So they're going to jump right to that section and they're going to read that little section. They're probably not going to read the entire blog post. So keep that in mind. Don't be disheartened. Don't think that that means that blogging is dead. Just be sure to strategically arrange your blog posts in anticipation of the fact that people are going to be skimming the content. That means images to break up the content, make it more digestible, and subheadings. Subheadings are huge because, again, Google, it's one of the first things that Google looks at when it's deciding how to index your website and what categories to put it under. They're going to look at your slug, at your headline, and your subheads to figure all that out. So use those subheadings to break up the content and use relevant keywords in those subheadings, and that way people can jump right to what they need. And if you have a really long post, like we tend to write blog posts that are 1,500 to 2,000 words long, so we put a table of contents right at the top. And if you want to, you can just click on the section you want to go to and boom, you're there. It makes it super easy for people to get in, get the information that they need and just the information that they need, and then get out. So okay, so we have to give it to those people that know people don't have time to read blog posts, but that does not mean that you can't account for that when you're blogging and still make your blog posts a great way to attract and convert those leads into customers. So, what about other forms of content? Video is huge. Podcasts are huge. I know for me personally, I love reading books. I don't have time to read anymore, and it makes me very sad, but I listen to audiobooks because I can listen to them while I'm running errands, while I'm washing the dishes, while I'm making dinner. It's super easy to incorporate that into my day. And the same with podcasts and other forms of audio. People tend to be listening more than they tend to be reading, and that is a growing trend, especially with the younger generation. If your target audience is a little bit older, that might not be true for them, or it might be true for them if you're running an assisted living community or something, or if you're helping people find Medicare, then maybe they are having a hard time reading, but their hearing is still good, so they listen more than they read. So again, take that into account. You don't have to do that instead of blogging though. I would add that to blogging because Google cannot read images or video or audio yet. I'm sure that day is coming, but it is not here yet. So you can repurpose that content. You don't have to drive yourself crazy writing all these blog posts and creating videos and infographics and whatever else that you're creating and think that it has to be different for each one. All these videos that we create are all covered in the same topics are covered in our blog posts in the same week. So you can repurpose, you can, if you have a podcast or a video, you can transcribe it and then turn it into a blog post. There's software out there that will transcribe it for you for not a whole lot of money. So that's an option. And then Google can read that content, and people who want to read can read, and people who want to listen or watch can listen or watch. So take that into account. Now, because everyone is so short on time, you have to be sure to create content that is worth their while. Think of it as, think of our time as like gold right now, right? Because no one has enough time to do all of the things that we need to do. So if they're going to give you their time, that's like them giving you their gold. That is their most precious resource, and they will never get it back. Regardless, there are no refunds on time, right? Regardless of whether or not they get value from the time that they spend consuming your content, they're never going to get that time back. So make sure it's worth their while, because nothing is more frustrating than wasting time, especially if you're attracting those type A people who are like, gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. What am I doing? What am I getting out of this? Why am I doing this? If they finish with your content and they don't feel like they got what they wanted out of it, it's so frustrating, and you've lost that lead, and it's very frustrating for everyone. So you can nix that by doing some online research, doing some keyword research, surveying your customers, surveying the people that you network with, and asking them what are their questions around whatever it is you provide, whether it's banking services or insurance or whatever it is that you're selling. Ask them if they have questions about it, and then go and do that research and ask and see what people are asking about online. See what searches people are putting into Google, and then see if there are a lot of other people providing answers to those questions. There are always going to be the keywords that already have a ton of content with those keywords. People are already getting all the information they could possibly get on that. Like SEO is a really huge keyword that a ton of people are using. The internet is flooded with information about SEO, so we don't need to focus on that. But blogging and blogging tips and blog writer and blogging strategy are don't have as much content, but they do still have people looking for them. So that's an example of a content gap that you can find, where you've got this need and it's not being filled. So you can fill it, and that A, it makes it worth their time, and B, it helps you show up in searches. And then to make sure that it's worth their time, provide useful tips that they can actually use. Provide actionable tips for them. This blog post is full of, this video that I'm creating and the blog post that goes with it is full of tips that people can use in their day-to-day lives to show up in searches and convert leads into customers. And they can use that, and when they find that it works, they can come back for more. When they decide they don't want to do it themselves, they can hire us. We are at avwritingservices.com. That's all great. So we are providing stuff that people actually need. Blog posts cannot just be selling. It's not a sales page. You have your sales page to sell stuff on. The blog is going to be convincing people that they need your product or service, and talking about the how and why of it. If you launch a new product, you can have a blog post about it, and you can even tell a little story about someone who bought it and how their life changed when they got that new product. And that is super valuable, because then people see, and then they get that buy-in. And another blog post about how it works, how to use it effectively. There are tons of blog posts out there about how to use things like Scrivener, which is an awesome tool that a lot of people don't use because they just get overwhelmed with all the stuff that they can do with it. So by having that content out there that shows people how to use it and how to get the most out of it, and the fact that it's really not that scary, those are super valuable blog posts. And then people can buy Scrivener and use it and be more productive when they write, and it's awesome. So another way to do that is how-to blog posts. There is a reason that you see so many headlines out there that start with how to, or 7 ways to do this, or 3 reasons you should be doing such and such, or 8 tips for blah de blah de blah. Those are actionable, and people love those. People love the how-to stuff. There's a reason that they're so popular. It's because they work, because people click on them, and you gotta fulfill that promise then. When they click on your website, you have to actually show them how to do something. Don't tease them and then say, well, if you want more information, sign up for our newsletter or pay such and such. No, don't do that, because nobody likes that, and they're not gonna pay money if they haven't gotten that buy-in. So use a blog to demonstrate your authority and demonstrate that you really know what you're talking about. So blogging is not dead, and no, people don't exactly read blog posts anymore, but they do search for them. The blog posts show up in searches, and people will skim the blog posts and look for the information that they need, and you have to provide that information for them if you're going to get in front of your customers online. Those are our tips for the week. I am Allison Verhalen at AV Writing Services. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to us at info@avwritingservices.com. Thanks for watching, and have a great week.